using to demonstrate this product right now is is an SS2 biology textbook. Just for context, and because, as I always explain, the biology textbook gives us an opportunity to show the wide range of possibilities of features and enhancements possible within our ebook, interactive ebook products. So first of all, I'll start by mentioning that this textbook, everything within the textbook, the e-textbook, everything I'm going to show you now is available offline, although I'm accessing it online right now. So to begin, the first thing here you can probably see is these underlined keywords. So what we do generally is, the idea is that this e-textbook, an interactive e-textbook, presents an overall digital experience for whoever is reading it. Even in this case, that would be an SS2 student. So what we consider is how to add context. So one of the first things we do here is pulling out major keywords or key terms that the students will need to really understand whatever the content is. In this case, classification of plants in this chapter 1 of this textbook, right? So here we've underlined, you can see underlined keywords like botanical, agricultural, key terms or words that might not be understood or that would need to be understood for further, to really understand the content here. So for example, here, you can see that agriculture is underlined, and the underlined terms have definitions embedded within them. And we've also added translation. So the translation here is Yoruba, but we can of course add Hausa, Igbo, any other languages based on request. So we have agriculture here defined. So a student, whoever is reading the textbook, can easily click on it to see the translation to Yoruba and also the definition. What we also do and what we've done is at the beginning of each chapter, we've added a video that provides an overview of the topics covered within that chapter. So almost like each textbook has a brief summary or introduction of what's covered in the chapter, we've also done the same thing with a video here. And you probably cannot tell, but then this chart covers the classification of plants. I'm not sure how to explain that, but it covers classification of plants, each stage, and gives examples. And what we've done as well is we've added images for each bottom example here. So each example that represents the lowest level of classification of plants, which is just, of course, given the example I'm using. We've added images to show these examples. And another thing I'll be pulling out here is just the ability for us to consider local context. So for this example here, the terms given here, gymnospermata and angiospermata, I believe. Now, examples of these two classes of plants are afang. So the afang plant is what we put here as an example. So we've added an image considering the local context of the students. Afang is something that most students will know, even just by hearing it, even if they never tried afang soup, right? Afang plant is an example of this, as well as okra here. Now, just going further into the chapter, as we go within the chapter, we've added images and videos to provide more in-depth understanding. So in contrast with the video I mentioned, or I showed you at the beginning of the chapter, we've added more videos here to cover in-depth topics. So for example, here, this actually shows another beautiful thing about this, being that ideally with subjects like biology or chemistry, science-based subjects generally, there will be lab time, right? You cover the theory parts of the subject in class, but then students will usually also have lab time to either to see, okay, look at this organism under the microscope. So for these terms here, for these topics here, these organisms are shown, okay, you show the parts of the organism and show the image. But then we've also added a video that shows the organisms that you would in a lab with lab equipment under a microscope. So it shows the microscopic view of this organism, which you would ideally only be able to see in a classroom. So we've added videos here to show that. Also have images here. Another beautiful thing as we're talking about lab time is that within this text, within the, sorry, it's loading because I'm accessing it through the internet, of course. Just please give me a second, okay? Yes. So another beautiful thing, as I was saying here, is that for subjects like biology, for any concept really that you would want to show, okay, step by step, or show an activity or a procedure, for this one, there's an activity here within the text that shows how to do a dissection of an earthworm. It's pretty much a biology experiment, right? And so the activity within the text shows a step-by-step, taking you through the procedure step by step. And so we've embedded a video that also does the exact same thing.
All right, for our worm dissection, we're gonna.
So pretty much the idea is that a student can understand how to dissect an earthworm step by step, seeing the text in the textbook and also seeing it being done in this video without even having to be in a lab. Or even if they do get to be in the lab, outside the lab, they get to reference it again and literally see, okay, how is this thing done, and understand it properly, gaining that applied understanding, almost like they were there in person. Another thing in this textbook that I'm going to pull out, which is also, I think, the last thing here, is, I think you've seen this before, but I'll just go back to that page. The assessment. So normally with physical textbooks or just plain text ebooks, you might have maybe questions or an activity or a summary or something, an activity for whoever's reading, for the reader to do. Normally with the physical text, maybe they will write inside the textbook or take notes or highlight inside the hard copy textbook. But of course, that means nobody else can use it, or whatever the problems. There's several problems with that. But then with with a plain text PDF textbook, you probably cannot interact and answer the questions within the textbook. But with this, we've made it possible for a student to, of course, see the questions, but also answer the multiple choice questions within the textbook. Now, because I'm doing a demo, it won't show that my answer is correct or not. But with the actual student version of this textbook, a student can answer the question, so choose the correct answer. And the textbook would highlight green or red, whichever. So green if the answer is correct, and a possible red if it's not correct, of course. And the beautiful thing about this is that on this teacher's end, on the teacher's version of this textbook, on the back end of it, teachers are able to see every point of engagement with this as the student interact with the textbook, right? So as the student answers the question, a teacher would see that the student has answered the questions and answered wrong or right. And to even go further, if a student answers the question, so if they answer it first and see that, okay, the answer is wrong, it doesn't highlight green, and then they answer it again, the teacher can see just how many times the student has answered that question and whether they answered it wrong the first time or answered it correct the second time. There's of course also theory questions here, and we were able to add a text box here. So I'm not sure if you can see my typing. So student can basically answer the theory questions here as well. And then of course, make annotations, highlight, star. So these are all things that I did. You can change the highlight color almost like you would with any, and the way you would interact with, the way you would want to make notes and highlights with a physical textbook, you can do that within this textbook. So the idea generally anyway is that it's a whole experience. You can watch video, watch image, look at images, make notes, answer questions, all of that within this one text. Yeah, so that's everything. Uche, was there anything else you wanted me to point out?
Hello? No, yeah. So no. So I think in a nutshell, that's kind of a highlight of what the demo is. I just wanted them to see that so that we could have perspective for the conversation around some of the stuff that we kind of envisage, especially with the outreaches being happened. So at a most strategic level, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Uche, I'm so sorry to cut you short. I also just wanted to mention, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just because, so this again, this was a biology textbook, and what we do again is that we are able to make subject-based enhancements. So all of these, like, there's a lot of video and images because it's biology and because of the sort of content and concepts covered within the biology textbook. For something like for English, for example, English would require more audio translation, audio enhancements because of the sort of subject and the needs, what is needed to basically understand the concept covered. So we're able to make these enhancements subject-based and customized according to the requirements of the content.